Welcome to Upticks with Jake Falcon, founder and CEO of Falcon Wealth Advisors. In this podcast, we help high net worth individuals overcome financial complexities. We do this by enhancing financial literacy and discussing topics in a language free from industry jargon. Join us as we help explain exactly what having a solid financial plan means, as Jake draws from years of experience in helping hundreds of individuals get financially organized and focused on their goals. We hope you find Upticks educational, entertaining, and shareable. Now, on to the show.
Welcome back to the show. This is episode 221, Maximizing Your Company Benefits. Cory, thank you for joining me back on the show.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
And what was interesting is last week I gave you trouble because you didn't have a Falcon logo on. And so I was like, well, Cory doesn't wear a Falcon logo. I won't wear a Falcon logo. And look at this, we flip-flop. So
tables turned.
All of our viewers, you got to make sure to tune in next week, because who will be wearing a Falcon logo or who won't be?
We'll have to find out. You have to tune in and find out.
You have to tune in to find out. And speaking of tuning in, thank you to everyone who has subscribed and liked and shared our content. That is the number one way that more people get educated around financial literacy. Again, that's the point of this show. And ultimately, clients choose to work with us to enhance their financial literacy and explain exactly what their financial plan means to them. So thank you. If you're not already subscribed, why not? Doesn't cost anything. Why aren't you subscribed? So again, our subscriber count, I'm very humble, continues to grow on YouTube, and I'm sure on the various podcast platforms. So if you're not subscribed, please feel free to do that. And if you think our content's any good, a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated on our content. Cory, before we dive into today's topic, it's a very important topic, something that you and I discuss very often with our clients. I know you just got back from California. You played in a paddle tennis?
It is platform tennis, and it's called just paddle for short.
So platform tennis, but if you're a player, the slang for it is paddle.
You got it.
So you played in a competitive paddle tournament in the Redwoods Forest, and we'll pop up some pictures here on the show. I know you shared some on Facebook, so if you're not connected with Cory on Facebook, please do so. But it looked a lot of fun. And so do you have one or two takeaways from the tournament? Like maybe something that you didn't think would happen that actually happened, or something new you learned?
Yeah, two big things. One, my partner and I, in our very first match, we played lights out, about as well as we possibly could have played, especially in a tournament, which was very much the highlight of our paddle weekend, which I kind of knew when the set was over with. But going into it, I didn't expect for us to win that handily any individual set or match throughout the tournament. So that was a lot of fun. But the other piece is that it was interesting to see all of the people that played out in California, where we were at, and the California Open was the tournament itself. There's a really like a top 100 ranked player who is the pro at the club. So it was fun to watch all the people that were members there play, because they were all very well coached. Like you could just watch their technique and you could tell that they learned how to play the game the right way. Whereas a lot of us that play it here in Kansas City have just sort of learned to play it our way, which isn't always the right way. So it's fun to see people who play who've, really been taught the appropriate way to get in there and compete.
That's a big deal. And so because it was an open, I'm assuming you guys weren't the only team that traveled. Were there other teams from around the country in California, or was it mainly California and you crazies from Kansas City?
Mainly the latter, but there were 4 teams from Kansas City that traveled there. So 8 people total. There was a team where somebody had traveled in from Connecticut, father-son team. Son lived out on the West Coast. Dad lives on the East Coast, but has played a lot. And there was a few that had traveled in from other places. But this particular tournament was mostly people that are in the sort of California paddle community. And with it being a cold weather sport, there's not a ton of them. So it very much felt like, it was a group of regulars that play the game pretty often. But there was a number of people that traveled from around California for the tournament also.
Nice. Well, good. I'm glad you had a good time. I'm glad you had a safe trip. And those pictures look pretty sweet. Not a bad place to spend your weekend.
Yep. Great experience.
Yeah, not much new with me. Golf season's obviously pretty shut down for me right now. So I'm just gearing up for next year, working a lot. You can see I'm in my home office and Cory's in his as well. On Wednesdays, for our clients. This is the day we're recording this. For clients that don't already know, Wednesday, we've chosen to make very intentional about what we're doing so that Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays can be all about clients. And actually, as a result of you and I reformatting our schedules, I, at least personally, have found more time slots available to meet with clients. Because before, I was trying to squeeze in all the different things that we do as wealth advisors, whether that's research, follow-up, these podcasts, mentoring the team, whatever that may be. I was always trying to squeeze that in between meetings, and I was kind of running around there a little bit, and I didn't like that. So me personally, it's been great. I've been able to, again, be very intentional on Wednesdays about non-client advice related activities that go in hand with being a wealth advisor. But then on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, it's all meetings all day, all about the clients. Cory, have you found it the same, or is anything different from your perspective?
No, I found the same thing. I was able to incorporate more time slots available to meet with people in it. And like you said, Jake, I think it just really helps to narrow the focus on those days where we can be more intentional on Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays about meeting with and advising clients. And on Wednesdays, handling the rest of the responsibilities that come with what we do.
Yeah, good. So perfect. So we'll see. We're going to go with it for now. If it changes, it changes. But for now, it seems to be working quite well. But for today's topic, I wanted to discuss getting the most or maximizing your company benefits, because I think a lot of people are leaving, frankly, money on the table, Cory, and they don't fully understand their benefits. And one of the services that we offer at Falcon Wealth Advisors is that we'll actually review those company benefits for our clients. So literally, you bring in your entire package of what they offer, and we will go through it line by line with you and see what makes sense according to your financial plan. This is what's dangerous, is that something that may make sense for your coworker may not make sense at all for you. So it's important to understand your company benefits. We want to help you get the most out of them. And most importantly, we want to make sure that you're getting them aligned with your financial plan. So I want to kick off with number one, Cory. We'll kind of ping pong it for a nice tennis term for you there.
There you go.
Table tennis. We'll ping pong it back and forth here. But I want to kick off with the Captain Obvious, which is your 401k plan. Not all companies have 401k plans, but certainly a lot of the major corporations do. And it's something that's called a defined contribution plan, meaning you can contribute to the plan. And typically, not always though, typically your employer will offer some sort of match. So a very common one that we see in Kansas City is that they'll match up to 50% up to 3%, which I don't know why they use these complicated formulas, but they do. And I guess it's not that complicated, but it's formula nonetheless. So what that means is for clients to get the full match, they would need to put, in this example, 6% into their 401k, Cory, to get a 3% match. Now, one common misconception, though, when I meet with new clients is they say, yeah, I'm maxing out my 401k. And then I kind of drill down with them. And what they tell me, Cory, is like, yeah, I'm putting in the 6% max. That is not the max necessarily. It depends on how much money you make. That may be the most you need to put in to get the match, but you can actually put in over $20,000 a year, and depending on your age, even more than that, in your 401k. So don't confuse with putting in enough money to get the match with fully maximizing your 401k. And before we flip to the next topic here, Cory, in our grouping, there's also sometimes several different ways to put money in your 401k, whether that's pre-tax, Roth, or after tax. So again, that's beyond the scope of today's show. We could really drill down into 401k and your investment options. But my point is, the no-brainer, though, here is if you're going to get 3% and quote-unquote free money, basically, from your company, you need to at least do that. But don't think that you're maxing out by doing that. You can put typically much more than that in there. So again, we want to line that up with your financial plan. But you need to be aware of what type of retirement plan your company offers. And then what do you need to do to get any matching? And then what is the maximum amount allowed by the IRS? And then you need to determine, should I put in pre-tax, Roth, or after-tax? All those are questions that we can help you answer, certainly at Falcon Wealth Advisors. Cory, before we go on to the next one, did I miss anything?
Nope, you got it.
Pretty good, right? Pretty good. I'll pat myself on the back for that one. So again, 401k, most everybody knows about them. Most companies do them, not all of them. And that's okay if they don't. Maybe they offer some other type of retirement plan. But for most corporate employees, big corporations, they're going to have a 401k. Cory, what's our next company benefit that you want to make sure you're maximizing?
Perfect. What we're going to talk about next is the ESOP, which stands for Employee Stock Ownership Plan. And that's an employee benefit plan that gives workers ownership interest in the company, typically in the form of, the shares of stock. And the idea with the ESOP, of course, is that it encourages employees to, do well in their jobs and in their roles, because the company's success translates into financial rewards. Versions of an employee stock ownership plan, a direct purchase plan, stock options, restricted stock, stock appreciation rights, et cetera, are all considered to be forms of an employee stock ownership plan. And they really help, frankly, to, like I said, get people's work and contributions to the business and their role aligned with the company's success from a financial compensation standpoint.
Yeah, so it can be rather complex. So to drill down there a little bit, so you also have something under that umbrella called maybe an employee stock purchase plan.
Mm-hmm.
So this is normally where your company will allow you to buy stock at a discount, and then you have to hold it for so long. So again, this isn't a no-brainer, but if you can buy your company stock at a 15 or 20% discount, it may make sense for you. For some people, it may not. So again, that's something that you definitely want to take a look at, though. Also, restricted stock units are a type of award under this, or stock options. So again, really cool things that some of these big publicly traded companies award their employees. And the key is you just want to understand how they work, right? What are the vesting schedules? So if you do get an award, how long do you need to work there to be fully vested or have access to the money? And then what are all of the tax implications associated with these types of plans? Because an employee stock purchase plan is going to be treated differently tax-wise than a restricted stock, and restricted stock is treated differently tax-wise than stock options. So it's a pretty big category I gave you there for the second one, Cory. But I mean, the point is, if you have any type of these awards in your company, what we need at Falcon Wealth Advisors is we just need to know what you were awarded, so how many shares, when, and the vesting schedule. And then what's really neat is our financial planners, Cory, they will model this out in the financial plan so that we can do not only retirement and financial planning in general, but also tax planning associated with some of these company perks or these benefits that you get.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah, so it's a good one. Again, it's not a no-brainer, though. I mean, sometimes, maybe you already have a lot of company stock, and so you don't want to over-concentrate yourself. So again, don't think that you need to go rush in and do it. But my point is, it's something that you definitely need to be aware of. It can be very confusing for the individual because, again, they're not in the financial services world every day. That's what you want to lean on your friends at Falcon Wealth Advisors. Let's take a look at your ESOP or employee stock ownership plan. Let's go through all of the fine print, understand the rules of the game, and then let's plug all that into your financial plan and see how that's going to impact you and your family.
Yep, that's really good. And I think, like you said, Jake, the tax piece is really critical for people to understand. We have a tax planning software that can help with that also.
Right. Yeah, good point. So, okay. So moving on to the next topic is insurance, Cory. And there's two roads here with insurance. And as the guest, permanent guest on Upticks, I'm going to let you choose the road. So there's insurance in the form of health insurance through companies, and there's insurance in the form of life insurance through companies. So which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about life insurance first.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so life insurance, typically when it's provided by an employer, it is a term policy, which just means that someone's going to make premium payments for a certain death benefit. If God forbid something were to happen to them, a payout for their family. The term piece of it just simply implies that there's not necessarily an accumulated cash value. You're just the same way that we pay, Jake, for our auto insurance or our homeowner's insurance. We're making a monthly premium payment so the coverage is in place if something were to happen. Oftentimes, for a lot of employees, while they're working, this is the most cost-effective way for them to get life insurance coverage, if they need, especially if they need to increase their coverage as part of the analysis in their financial plan. Because if they work for a corporation, particularly if it's a large one, it's a group plan, which helps to bring the premium costs down. So oftentimes when we are giving clients advice on how to increase their life insurance, if it's necessary, the term plan, the group plan through their employer is oftentimes the most cost-effective way to do it.
Right, right. And so many times, first off, just to wind back life insurance, and again, you and I are both life insurance agents, even though we really don't sell it much at all. So the good news is we're both have the license to speak to it. But we like buying life insurance through your company, certainly if you plan on working there until retirement. Now, life insurance should be used to replace lost wages, take care of any financial obligations in the form of debt, or raise dependent children. But many times, Cory, in these corporations, we'll see that as a standard, they'll just give you 1 times your salary, 1.5 times your salary, 2 times your salary, whatever it is. But what you were referring to is oftentimes you can also level up and you can buy additional life insurance through your company, which what we have at least seen or experienced is that oftentimes, because it's a group plan, it's far cheaper than going to a life insurance salesman or saleswoman and buying it in the open market. So that's where that's where you're going with that. We like to start there first. Sometimes you may need to get a physical, which is, you're going to need to do that if you buy life insurance more than likely anyways. But that's where we look to start. Now, if you think you're going to jump ship and bounce around jobs, maybe you just have the type of profession that it makes sense for you to leave your company every 3 years or something, then maybe buying life insurance through your company might not always be the best solution. And maybe you can go out there in the open market and get life insurance. But for today's show, we're talking about company benefits. So again, you want to look at that life insurance as a company benefit, see what they're hopefully giving to you, right, free of charge, understand what it is. And then if your financial plan suggests that you need more, like Cory mentioned, through a needs analysis that, again, we can run for you, then we'll look at upping that through your company, because typically that's the most cost-effective way. And again, we like term life insurance. We don't like permanent insurance that comes with more fees and is often missold, in my opinion, by life insurance brokers. So again, good one on that. Life insurance is very important to understand and look at, but don't think, oh yeah, my company has it. It might not be enough. Certainly if you've got, young children at home, or you've got significant debt and you're still accumulating wealth, you may need to level up and buy some more through your company, just in case, right? Again, that's insurance. I don't like insurance, but it's a kind of a safety net there.
Yep.
So the second road, Cory, is health insurance. So health insurance, why don't you go ahead and kind of tee that one up also? That's another big one for many of our clients.
Yes, so a lot of large employers and corporations, maybe not even necessarily large, will provide healthcare benefits, whether that's medical, vision, dental, to their associates through the form of a group plan. Again, same concept applies here, like with life insurance. It helps oftentimes to reduce some of the costs because you're participating with a lot of other associates or people that work for the same employer. And oftentimes the employer is subsidizing a portion of the expense as well. But for people who are working and have health insurance coverage, I think it's important for people to, of course, make sure that they understand how their insurance works, what the coverage benefits look like. And also, as people are approaching retirement, understanding what's going to be different between when they're working and when they're retired, and ensuring that they have the appropriate policies and coverage in place.
Yeah, good one, Cory. And again, you got to look at the PPO, HMO, in-network, out-of-network. How much is your employer paying? How much do you have to pay? High deductible, low deductible. So again, there's a lot going on in this health insurance package. Certainly, we actually typically refer a lot of our health insurance questions out to a health insurance agent, where all she does is talk health insurance all day long. And she's, in my opinion, very versed in the subject. And so we like to defer to her, because not only can she take a look at your company benefits and kind of go through that with you, she also has a very firm pulse on the open market. So she can help you compare. So maybe your spouse doesn't work and you work, and maybe you need to decide, should my spouse just go get a policy on their own, or should we do a family plan through my company? She can help you make some of those tough decisions around health insurance. But it's important to remember also, when you leave your company, typically COBRA, maybe you can go into what COBRA means a little bit here, Cory. COBRA, Cory.
COBRA, Cory, I'll take it. So COBRA, I think a lot of people are familiar with, but the idea is if you separate from your employer, COBRA allows you to retain your benefits, basically continue to be a participant in the same plan that you were a part of while you were working for up to 18 months beyond your separation from the employer. The biggest difference during that COBRA period is that the company is more often than not going to subsidize the premium payments, but at least that does provide people, a bridge, a period of time that they can just retain the coverage that they already had. But usually the expense is going to be greater because the company's no longer going to subsidize a portion of the cost because you're no longer employed there.
Right, right. So it's important to remember. So part of that transition, whether you're going to retire or go work somewhere else, is that don't think that the day you quit or retire that you're going to kind of be left out in the dark regarding health insurance. It's obviously very important and something that you make sure you have lined up. So speaking of health insurance, if you do have a high deductible plan, and if that plan allows for it, you also may be eligible through your company to participate in something called a health savings account. Cory, why don't you talk about the triple tax benefits of a health savings account?
The triple tax benefits of a health savings account: one, contributions made to the plan can be deducted from your income taxes. Two, the funds inside the plan can typically be invested and they're growing tax deferred the same way that an IRA or a 401k does. And three, if the distributions that come out of the health savings account are used for qualified medical expenses, the distributions are tax-free the same way that a distribution from a Roth IRA is tax-free.
Right. So this is a very powerful account, maybe one of the best or best known secrets. I don't know if that's the way you say that, but a lot of people don't participate in a health savings account, even though they're a high deductible savings plan, and they're missing the boat on this one. Now, there are limitations. It's somewhere between around $3,000-ish if you're single, or $7,000. It bumps up a little bit every year. So this is just a broad statement there. But the idea is that you could potentially lower some of that income, invest it, hopefully, and then if you pull it out for qualified medical expenses down the road, whether you're working or in retirement, you could potentially have that money pulled back out tax-free for you. Now, if you don't use it for medical expenses and you're 65 years old, it actually works just like an IRA, right? So you can just pull it out. There's no penalty, but it would be taxed. So again, these health savings accounts can be a very powerful tool. Typically, we want you to have several years left in working so that you can build it up. I was talking with a client the other day, Cory, that they're looking to retire here pretty soon. So they're like, I could do a health savings account, but I'm not really going to put enough money in there to move the needle much. So why bother? And I agreed with them, actually. Most advisors might not on that, because again, I'm not in the business of splitting hairs with people. I'm trying to make the financial plan optimized for them, but keep it simple too. There's no reason to open up an account for something that's not going to get that much money put into it. But again, if you've got a longer time horizon of your career, 10, 20, 30 years, and you want to start maxing that thing out every year, it could be a huge opportunity for you down the road. Anything I missed on health? Go ahead.
Yeah, two real quick things I want to add. One, an HSA or health savings account, the funds do roll over from year to year, unlike an FSA or a flex spending account. So that's, I think, an important distinction to make. And secondly, if someone is retired or retiring and they're not yet age 65 when they're eligible for Medicare, there are healthcare plans on the marketplace exchange, the healthcare.gov, that are considered to be high deductible plans and therefore allow people to make HSA contributions if it makes sense. So my point in bringing that up is just so that people know, if your insurance coverage is through the marketplace or the Affordable Care Act, that there are plans that are HSA eligible, and it's something to check for when you are enrolling in your benefits.
Yeah, that's good to know. So the next company perk or benefit that we want to maximize is deferred comp, which is a little bit more unique for some people. But the way deferred comp typically works, Cory, is that let's say you're going to get a big bonus or whatever, and your income is more than what you need today to maintain your lifestyle. Well, some companies allow for you to defer it. So basically, you're still going to be compensated, but you defer it into another account with the company so that you're not taxed on it that year, so that when you retire, hopefully then you drop into a lower tax bracket, and then you can pull that money back out and pay taxes then. So it's a way of deferring some of the taxes that you may owe because you're in a high bracket now, with the expectation you're going to be in a lower bracket at a future time in there. So deferred comp can be a useful strategy. Again, we'd want to look at your financial plan. We'd want to look at your tax return, and then we can help give you some observations from a planning perspective on what makes sense according to your goals and your financial plan. Anything on deferred comp on there? It's pretty cut and dry as far as I'm concerned, but.
No, I don't think so. I think the only thing that I would add to that is, technically speaking, when it comes to deferred comp, there's qualified deferred comp and non-qualified deferred comp. So a 401k plan actually is technically considered to be a qualified deferred compensation plan. But I think a lot of what we're talking about is the non-qualifying deferred comp, which is basically somebody who has the ability outside of 401k contributions to defer their income into a future year for tax purposes.
Right. It's a lot of jargon there, but yes.
I know.
That's right. So the next one more jargon. The next one I wanted to talk about is a defined benefit plan, not to be confused with whatever the jargon we just threw out there. But the defined benefit plan actually simply stated as a pension, which aren't as common as they were 20 years ago. But a pension is great for our clients that work at corporations that either they've been grandfathered into the old pension plan or their company still actively participates. But a pension is something that you could look at as sometimes being able to be rolled over when you retire into an IRA and as a lump sum, or you can get monthly annuity payments for your lifetime and potentially your spouse's lifetime. And so again, defined benefit plans, again, aren't as common, but they play a very important role into optimizing and maximizing your company benefits. So you want to understand what your pension looks like. And not only this, but and a lot of people that have a pension know this already, but maybe you don't, someone that's watching, is that your pension amount will vary based on the year you retire. And sometimes the month or the day you retire even. So you want to be in tune with this. We can certainly give you suggestions on who to contact within your company, your HR department, or if you have some benefits department. And they should be able to model out scenarios. Well, Cory, what if I retire in December of 2022 or January of 2023? How is that going to impact my pension? And quick side note on this, with many people that get lump sum pensions, with interest rates going up, normally lump sum pensions go down. So if you're dead set on taking a lump sum pension and you want to retire either this year or next, I highly encourage you to take a look at your pension adjustment, because for some people, it literally could be, Cory, hundreds of thousands of dollars and a reduced benefit. And so in essence, you may be working for free if you stay on another year. Now, if you're 5 or 10 or 20 years away from retirement, this is not a reason to rush out in retirement necessarily. I'm talking about someone that's literally going to retire in December or January. Well, there you need to be in tune with what's going on and how your pension or your defined benefit plan is going to be impacted. Or you want to fill in any of the gaps there?
No, I just wanted to say the same way that you talk about, Jake, how our intent is to make sure that clients understand exactly what their financial plan means to them. If you work for an employer that does provide a pension and you have the option to take a lump sum or a monthly income stream in retirement, don't just assume that what your coworkers are doing is the right thing for you. You want to really understand what your specific benefits look like and how they fit into your financial plan before making a decision or a choice.
That's a good point, Cory. I mean, I have 2 clients that work at the same company for a similar amount of years, same company. And one of them is going to take more than likely the lump sum. And one of them is going to take a hybrid, they have a hybrid option of taking some in an annuity and some in a lump sum. And they're going to retire very close, maybe different years, but 1 or 2 years away from each other. But again, they work at the same company, but not everyone should do the lump sum because it doesn't make sense for everyone. And not everyone should take an annuity, right? So again, it goes down to your financial plan, comfort level, personal preference, estate planning. What do you want to leave to your kids and grandkids? All that plays a factor into which choice you make. And you have to be careful because, and I don't want to scare anybody here, but it is a reality that once you make that election and it's submitted and it's approved and it starts happening, like you receive your lump sum check or the annuity starts, typically these companies don't allow you to change it. Right. So once that's all been ironed out, you leave, pension's been effective. That's it. You can't turn around 5 years from now and change your mind. So it's a very important decision, something that should be taken seriously. You need to understand the pros and cons with each, because there are pros and cons with each, and go over that with a fiduciary advisor like us at Falcon Wealth Advisors, and we can go down that road with you. Okay, good, Cory. I've got 2 more here before we wrap up our show. And then again, if you have any other bonus ones, these are a little bit more obscure, but again, I think it's important for people to understand. One of them is prepaid legal services. Some of these bigger corporations will offer these prepaid legal services. It's pretty cheap, if anything, if you pay for it. I would just caution, because sometimes people will say, well, I've got a prepaid legal plan. I'll go get a full-blown estate plan or a trust made through that service. And I just want to caution people that, in my opinion, you get what you pay for. So if you're only paying $2 a month for this prepaid legal plan, is an attorney really gonna, and I don't know how much the attorney gets paid from it, but I doubt they're getting their full rate or their normal rate. So my point is just be very careful, because you may be getting something that's very boilerplate and cookie cutter, and not necessarily like a trust is a serious document and shouldn't be taken lightly. I don't think you should go shop and go see where you can get the cheapest trust made. I think you need to go and shop attorneys where you think you have the most competent attorney that actually listens to you and understands what you're trying to accomplish, and then explains it to you in a language that you can understand. But I don't necessarily think the prepaid legal. Now, if you want to use prepaid legal to take care of parking tickets or speeding tickets, or if you've got some basic legal questions, that probably makes more sense than getting a full-blown estate plan that's very complex, very detailed, very intricate from something you're paying $2 a month. Cory, you have any thoughts on that?
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and that you get what you pay for. And I know from going through the estate planning, process and conversation with clients, and actually my wife and I going through it ourselves when we established a trust, there are so many moving parts that are involved that you really want to work with someone that you have a lot of confidence in, who is going to be attentive to what really matters, because it can be a beautiful thing when it's executed properly, but it can also create a huge mess if it's not.
Right. And so that, again, it's too important of a conversation to go use some Mickey Mouse prepaid legal plan. In my opinion, it's a cool perk, but I wouldn't take it too seriously. You get what you pay for. The last one I had, Cory, was gym membership. Sometimes you're like, again, at our office at Falcon Wealth Advisors, we provide a gym for our employees through the building that we work in. It's a pretty neat perk. Sometimes though, they'll pay for a gym membership, or maybe your health insurance will even pay for a gym membership, or maybe you get discounts on your cell phone coverage, or other types of discounts around town on food or groceries or gas or whatever. But it's just important to understand those benefits as they get rolled out to you, and make sure that if something applies in your life, maybe you're already going to the gym and you just haven't plugged in the discount, make sure you're optimizing and maximizing those, because again, that's just money you're leaving on the table if you're not taking advantage of a perk that your company is spending time and money on rolling out to you. You certainly want to take advantage of it. Do you have any comments on these? These are kind of some of the ancillary ones that aren't as often, but pretty unique to each company.
Yeah, I think there's almost kind of fringe benefits that we're talking about here, like a gym membership, for example. I would just encourage people on an annual basis, when they go through the open enrollment process through their employer, to understand what benefits are available to them. And with something like a gym membership specifically, also understand, how the taxability of it works, depending upon who pays for it. Because oftentimes a benefit like that you can't take advantage of, but it may be taxable as far as income goes. So at least just understanding those components, I think, is important too.
Right. So yeah, again, and roll it out. Like at Falcon Wealth Advisors, for example, we'll match up to a certain dollar amount an employee's charitable contribution. So if your company's doing that, certainly would encourage you to take advantage of it. Or we have a company that we work with in town that sponsors their own donor advice fund. Mm-hmm. So again, just knowing what those benefits are, finding out, informing yourself. Great idea, Cory. Once a year when you're doing open enrollment, go take a quick look through all your benefits. I know everybody's busy with their careers and their families and the holidays and everything going on, but this is an important piece of your overall long-term financial plan. It pays to spend an hour once a year talking about it, or just if you don't want to mess with it, get all of your benefits information, schedule a meeting with our financial planning group, and they'll go through it with you line by line and explain their interpretation of it. We'll bring in your HR if we need to bring in your HR department to talk about it with you and make sure that we have it all properly aligned with your plan.
Yeah, and I think in a competitive labor market that we're in right now, right, where people are trying to hire people, the way that companies will incentivize people to come work for them oftentimes will be through their benefit packages. Of course, in addition to, compensation, of course, for working there. But understanding what benefits, like you said, are available, and recognizing that companies do continue to add to those to make themselves more attractive employers for people to come work.
Yeah, it's good. Very good. So good. So thank you again for joining me on the show. Thank you all for tuning in today. If you want to email me, my email is jake@falconwealthadvisors.com. Cory's is Cory@falconwealthadvisors.com. That's Cory. Cory, you have any parting comments before we wrap up here?
No, well, actually, one parting comment. We talked about how we refer oftentimes clients to a healthcare broker. If you want to tune in to last week's episode of Upticks, episode 220, Jake, you and I just had a conversation with her about the healthcare landscape for next year.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, please. Yeah, refer back to last week's episode of Upticks if you want to get deeper with health insurance. Thank you, Cory. Good point. And again, thank you all for tuning in. We hope you have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Upticks. Click the subscribe button to be notified when new episodes become available. Also, be sure to visit our website, falconwealthadvisors.com, and click the Contact Us button if you'd like to meet with Jake and his team.